36 board is now in session. Okay. 1, 2, 3, consent agenda. That's on the 2021 order. And have the reports of disclosure. She would like to actually an update on the certified tax. Late over certified voters to going to the center. Women's water just do business. Motion to approve the items. It's on that.
Does anyone want to discuss anything?
Let me not sure I'm 7 minutes. Okay. And I have no issues with that. Motion to approve the consent agenda.
I make.
Oh, you did. Second that.
That's second. Almost there. I have you got to say it.
Yeah.
Okay. Regular agenda. You the participants grab. 2025 operating budget and recommend water rate structure.
All right, in front of you have the proposed budget, for next year. And you also have a, budget memo summary. Yep. So we'll go off of the spreadsheet itself. There's plenty of copies, yeah. Did they give you that?
And this is the memo you talking about.
All three scenarios.
Yes, I'll be going off of the actual report or,
Phase 2 is what the memo's built on. Phase 2 is what the memo is built on.
oh,
What you need.
I mean, scenario 2,
Three different.
including phase 1 of the project.
yeah, we will, but we'll talk, let's talk about the only one that they have, I think is,
Well, they have all three.
are they all out there?
They're labeled
Which one is this one?
scenario 2, phase 1 including. Okay.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, so start with, scenario 2, phase 1 only. It says it right here in red, right there.
Yeah, scenario 1.
Yeah, make sure,
Yes. Scenario 2, phase 1. That's the part.
scenario 2, phase 1.
Anybody else need?
Scenario 2, phase 1.
The memo's built on.
I'll explain what all that means. We will just go over that one for now, and I'll explain what the other ones are. So, this is for presentation tonight. No vote tonight on this. You'll vote next month on the budget as well as the tax setting recommendation, which is the next agenda item on your agenda. But I did want to point out that the yellow box at the top of the budget does include the tax rate recommendations that we're about to talk about. But they need to be in the budget for us to at least talk about the budget. So, you may recall last year, well, 3 of you weren't here, but last year we did a rate study analysis for all of the MUDs and identified some rate adjustments on the retail water and sewer rates last year. And so those were adjusted. They hadn't been raised in many years. So we did a rate analysis, and then that led us to make some adjustments last year. We're not proposing any adjustments this year for retail rates, water and sewer. So no rate changes on that. On the last couple months, you've heard about from SJRA's budget, the wholesale rate, water rate is going down slightly, and the wholesale sanitary sewer rate is staying the same. And then the GRP rate is going down, and all of that is within this budget. So on the front side is basically the revenues coming in, and you'll see the different SJRA rates, your rates, those types of things. Usually we kind of talk more from the backside of this. We can, if you flip the page, we can kind of go into the fun stuff. I wanted to point out a couple things that are variances or differences from last year's budget. And just for those that haven't seen this before, if you look at the blue column to the left of, or excuse me, to the right of it is this current year's budget. And the column to the left of it in the tan is the proposed budget for next year. With a 10-1 fiscal year start. So you look through that, wanted to point out a couple line items that have some outliers, if you will. Water service maintenance line item 5300.06. You'll go all the way across. You'll see that the budget last year was about $2,000. Proposed budget this year is 64,000. So what that is
Which side are you on there? You're on the
Backside.
on the tan, in the tan.
yeah. I'm sorry.
And now you said it's
5300.06. Water service maintenance.
Okay,
So you look all the way across, it's 1980 budget last year or this current year, and then 64.4 this coming year. So what that is back, all of the woodlands converted to the AMI ultrasonic meters on the residential side, basically meters under 3-inch diameter were changed out to the ultrasonic. At the time, for cost saving purposes, as well as availability of the larger meters, they were actually not available and being manufactured. The larger diameter, 3-inch and up, were not changed out at that time across the woodlands. So what we're proposing through all the MUDs is to look at your large diameter meters and consider change out of those. You currently have 9 old commercial mechanical meters, 9 of them across the district, and 8 of them are either 3 or 4-inch. So that's what this number is. It would be to change out the 8 3 4-inch old compound meters to ultrasonic meters to match the residential system. They are the parts to fix the old meters becoming obsolete. And the new meters will create some additional water accountability, less water loss across those meters. So, and a couple MUDs have asked, well, what if we just did all of ours? So we're going to get numbers for them to look at that. But at this point, we're just looking at the 3-inch and the 4-inch for about 36. So that's one line item that's
64,000.
that is correct. Yes.
Charles 10,000 left.
Yeah, they're pretty good to buy them and install them.
and that is coming from what fund?
Well, we'll get to the funds.
Okay,
The next line item to point out is 5300.09 sewer repair. So we did a sanitary sewer evaluation several years ago. The results of that study identified sanitary sewer within your sanitary sewer system, as well as several other MUDs. Some aging, cracked, and compromised sanitary sewer pipe and manholes that had deteriorated. Last year, and then the fix of that was to be broken up into 3 phases called year 1, year 2, year 3, or phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. So right now, phase 1 has been completed across the woodlands, with the exception of the work that was recommended for MUD 36. At the time, the last couple of years, phase 1 was removed for your budget because of the financial situation of the district itself. Didn't have enough money. When you put it in, you had negative money, so we couldn't put it in. Because you made some choices last year on tax rate setting time and your rates, you were able to get a little bit more in reserves this year. And so with that, we decided, let's go ahead and address that. And so we put that in the budget to address phase 1, which the rest of the woodlands has already completed the construction of phase 1. We've talked to the engineer, and what we'd probably do is put the design of phase 2 is already complete. And 36's work's not in, because it wasn't budgeted last year. This year, we'll put in phase 1, which will be put into the design of year 3 or the phase 3 project. It's going to be under start design next year. So that number is about $250,000 roughly.
This is not all the work that needs to be.
No, it's not.
By It's about, we need to do about what, million US worth of it?
About that, yeah.
Okay, and we don't have the money to do it.
It's 800.
Plus that's plus the 10%.
We'll get to that.
We
We'll
will.
get to that. We'll get to that. Yeah, we'll get to that. So that's what that's why we have multiple scenarios here, because we did one with doing that first phase of that project. The other version of this has it completely taken out. And the other version has what you can see your financials look like if we put all three phases in, which I'm not obviously recommending. That you'd be in a negative situation, really bad. So, but that's why there's scenarios. So scenario 2 is to put in phase 1 of sanitary sewer rehabilitation to address your sewer pipe. That'll also tighten up some of the I&I that comes from that, although I know a lot of it comes through the manholes, which we've addressed on the side. So that's one difference, big difference. And then the other one is 5300.14, storm sewer repair. So you see last year is about 23,000. That's up to 51. We're doing an audit across all of the districts and their ditches and their piping in the ditch. So the piping that's in the ditches from either the back slope interceptors or from the storm sewer that's coming from the street is corrugated metal pipe, CMP we call it. When corrugated metal pipe gets to about 20, 25, 30 years old, it disintegrates in a water condition. So you had one a few months ago. We had a sinkhole over there at the park, and that one was corrected. There's another sinkhole on that same pipe further up that we're going to need to address. That's the type of pipe that we're talking about. You've got it in park, but you've also got it in your ditches, and the Woodlands has that across all their ditches. So we don't have a good account in our GIS database system of how many pipes we have, what the condition of them are, have we already fixed some, that type of thing. So we're working with our ditch maintenance contractor to do an audit of the entire ditch system of the Woodlands. We're going to collect that data, put it into our GIS database, and with that data, we'll be able to build a capital improvement plan that will better help us plan for whatever we're up against. We had several districts also, like you did recently, also had some pretty catastrophic failures along the back of the lots and pulled the fences down. It was a mess in a couple of districts. And those repairs were in the $40,000-$50,000 range. If you can collect some of these and do them usually at multiples at a time, you're going to get a lot better bang for your buck. I don't know where we sit in 36. So once we have the audit, we'll be able to get a better look at what that's going to look like. And then we can bring recommendations to you on how to tackle it. Obviously, if we have immediate sinkholes and things like that, we'll probably have to address it. We'll have to look at the budget and see what we have in cash. But if we have, if we can, maybe we can cycle it and do a few a year and get them all done over the next 5-10 years. But we won't know that until we really have the data. And so that'll be collected this fall. Hopefully by the end of the year, I'll have some better numbers on the overall effect of all the money, including 76 on that. But for this budget, I put one catastrophic repair of $25,000.
How much did that one cost?
Just under 20. So I put 25 in this current budget, in this going forward budget, in case we have another. We're gonna have
We
to fix.
already know.
Yeah, we already know that. Well, hopefully we can fix that in this budget. But yeah.
I have a quick question on liquidity. Tax food, tax guard, tax less, all of those just liquid dollars. They are.
In the operating fund
They're
only.
operating funds, you can use them at any time for any reason.
Mhm.
Is that correct? Or you're wondering about?
Operating only.
Operating only, you know. They're operating only maintenance.
Yeah.
Maintenance is part of operating.
Oh,
Yeah. So another thing that we look at on these budgets is that green bar at the bottom. And that's kind of an indicator of, I'd say, our health, at least is what we can and can't do. As you can see, if you look at that last column in September, that would be of September of next year. You're looking at the number in green is the number of months of reserve that you have of your overall budget. Okay. In the mud world, that number should be 12 to 16 months. AWD recommends 16 to 24. I don't believe that in your case, you don't have facilities. And so like mechanical facilities, because SGRA owns those facilities. So in this budget, you don't need to deal with that. So most of our muds, the woodlands without those mechanical, we should be in at more of that 12 to 16 month.
We're at 3.3.
We are. Yeah. And so to answer your question about where do we, fund it, this budget, as you can see, basically holds you constant in your starting point and your end point while still accomplishing a couple of these projects, which is the whole goal of growing the reserve, is so you can do the rehabilitative projects that you need to do. So what I'm telling folks, especially if we're trying to grow with that goal in mind, is if we can stay constant or grow a little bit in that reserve while still getting those projects done that we need to be doing, that's at least going in the right direction. It is what it is. So this is, and as you know, we'll talk about on the tax side, we're kind of handicapped there with how much revenue we can generate legislatively. And so the only other way that you could create, besides selling bonds, which I don't believe you have bond authorization available, is you'd have to raise your water and sewer rates even further. And 36 has the highest water and sewer rates of all the units already.
We say we have the highest. What,
And the wood.
what is our water rate? Base water rate, what's the difference?
I didn't pull all that spreadsheet. No. Eight of the districts have the same rates. Two districts have higher rates, 36 the highest.
But what is
I'd have to,
compared with the other rates?
Base residential for water is $9.50. The other districts are $5. That's just the base rate.
base.
And then the tiers are a little higher.
Say that one.
The base rate for residential water is $9.50.
In our district.
Yes, and $5 and just the base
Don't
charge.
use any water. Get filtered. Yeah. Same.
And-
So
Base is,
9.50. I'm sorry, it's 10.
$10 for residential and $3 in the rest of the districts. And the per 1,000 rate is higher as well.
I was on board and I pushed
Push for what, Mr. Magger?
for a higher base rate. Reason. And I had a neighbor just passed away a few months ago that used to go to New England every summer. And then obviously he was gone for 6 months. And he still got the privilege of coming home, turning on his water and flushing his toilet while we had to maintain all of these facilities. You can multiply that by hundreds of people, monthly, weekly, or, when a residence gets, it's old. We are paying. Everybody's paying for,
Was it behind?
those people that have the privilege to come home, turn on the water and flush their toilet.
I got no problem with that. It's the rate high, $9.50 versus $5.
You're right.
Big one.
And that's the,
Oh, what's the gap, the
well, but
per thousand gallon
I
rate is this.
never said for the last 3 or 4 months, they're going on like our rates are out of control. And here's the
Yeah.
base rate, here for it's $10 per sewage.
Versus fine, big one.
No, it's just the base rate.
Yeah,
It's not
base rate.
the total rate.
Right.
But the
No,
point
but
is,
you've got the per thousand.
the point is that house is sitting there like, I'm sticking for, that's a month or 6 months. Amount of. Oh, it might be $100. What, 3,600, 3,500?
So what are the rates, what are the actual usage rates compared?
But all
Are they all the same?
Rates are the same.
No, they're higher. The tiers, the first tier is the same at $1.90 and the other tiers will go up higher than the rest of the districts.
Another thing that does is it gives you a stable revenue source. you know what it's gonna be, because got a base rate.
Yeah, it's the fixed income people you gotta watch out for, because the fixed income people are what that hurts. Because they don't have a choice. And it's usually the elderly, but, when you push the base rate, they're the ones that don't use any water. So you're not getting money off of them from, the usage, because their usage is usually extremely low. So you just gotta watch out for it.
They got the privilege of being able to bust the quality,
Sure,
and they do.
sure.
I think $19.
So anyway, that's just my opinion. I was 10 years ago, I think it ended up in average appraised value is $500,000. And $500,000 residents should be, that's $20. Still, previous, they last.
Okay. So this is of the three scenarios, I didn't really want to go into the other two, but we wanted them to be available. This would be our recommendation. That gets you those projects completed. And then within the tax rate recommendation that we're about to hear. So,
But that's the number two scenario is what you recommend.
Yeah.
and that generally, yeah, that holds that, reserve at about 3 months. You know, I'd like to,
And just for your information, our current ratio is 1.9%. Okay? That means our current liquid assets to our current obligations is more. Anything less than one is we're in deep trouble. Anything more than one, your hands right.
yeah, and that did have effect on you last year. I think the rating, the district was downgraded last year because of this
Downgrade, problem situation.
I still don't understand where we're gonna get the 248. Because we haven't done
I got a
that.
question about that.
It is,
Karen, I got a question while you're bringing it back. Is, can we use this 328 in this capital projects to fund that?
it's in there. Yeah.
I put it in as.
Yep,
Mhm.
So this 328 now
it's in there.
in the, where's,
It says a revenue item. I just put it in to show what it would do for the bottom line. Because
okay. So the-
theoretically, that amount wouldn't have to really be paid.
And that also is plasma.
Either, yeah, all of the above. Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. It'd go towards,
So now we,
that's part of what's allowing us to do some of this.
we can go in this.
Okay, put it in as other
Next
revenue.
month, what I suggest, if you've got any more questions, please, by all means, that's probably a good time to talk about, shift our discussion to the tax rate setting recommendation, because they go hand in hand, right?
Just a quick question, what is like on these large industrial, or commercial customers that are getting these new $10,000 numbers? How many years is it gonna take to recover that from them? What's their base rate?
$3.
For,
For commercial?
That's just a base rate. And we-
They should-
Unless it's an irrigation meter.
Well, you'll be recovering it in accountability,
Yes.
I mean, there's water usage, but we don't make money on the water usage.
sure you do.
I mean,
Yeah,
we do, but
Yeah, this, so what was encountered with the switch out to the, all the residential meters was the accountability across the Woodlands, or water losses
Yeah.
were in the 10 to 12% range.
Right.
And that was reduced down to about 4.5%, give or take right now. So there's gonna be a big chunk there. The other thing too is, and y'all weren't here, but, last year we hired an outside firm to do basically, billing and revenue auditing, for all the districts. And the purpose of that was for them to go out and identify any areas where we were losing revenue because of stuck meters or, billing inaccuracies in how we bill, or whatever the case may be. It could have been paper or it could have been mechanical. And they've done that. And so they have found some areas where we have some lost revenue. And I think almost all of the areas were these compound meters, these old mechanical compound meters. They've got a low flow and a high flow port, and basically, one or the two would stick or would low read. And so we will solve that problem as well, which will create additional revenue as well.
And so my only concern is just the recovery time for the price of the meters. I mean, if it's gonna take 5 years to recover a $10,000 meter from one of the customers, so that's, they need to, it needs to be recovered some other way.
We don't have that.
That's not how
Commercial,
yeah, business works.
commercial things here. It's not, we're not like Metro. That's for sure. So.
They're getting a cap, they're basically getting a capital improvement, but yeah, if it.
They're not, the district
The
is,
district.
yeah, they're not getting, their water bill's gonna go up.
Okay. Well, so that answer me that. So how much do you think their water bill is gonna go up? Is that gonna pay for the meters in 2 years?
I'd have to put up with it.
Okay, that's basically the question I understand. It's,
We don't know how to change it. What that previous, meter was and the new updated meter.
Well, we could probably do an analysis, but you know, the reality also is the parts to fix these meters are becoming obsolete.
that's.
The point is, you
We don't have a choice.
You might as well go ahead and get it done.
Got it.
It will pay itself off.
All right. I understand it will pay itself off. I just was hoping it wasn't like a super long.
Excuse me. I know what you mean.
So it's gonna be 8%
Hopefully, yeah,
improvement? Yeah,
If
just
it-
based on what
if
the
it follows,
residential
that's
meters
right.
do?
If it follows what we saw on the residential side. And these are bigger users, obviously.
So all through this,
Okay.
I get the feeling that MUD 36 doesn't have any reserve and you think they should have more?
Mhm.
Is that what?
We have a reserve of $500,000.
Right.
So
And you-
after these projects have been completed, so that's good. You've got 3.3 months. That's not great.
What's the average reserve for mud in this, the size of Metro, of mud in this?
Yeah, I was asked that and just kind of thinking through, there's a handful around 6 or 7, 11, 16. And I would say the average is probably right at around 8 or 9, I would guess. I can,
What?
months,
Months.
8 or 9 months.
Okay, in terms of dollars, how much?
It depends on what their rates are and what,
Well, I
how they
understand.
relate to it. It just,
Well, I reserved about $500,000, 3 months. I mean, that's some.
Because you're a little bit smaller district.
Right.
It's kind of,
Problem with that is that they base it on revenue. Yeah. And revenue has absolutely nothing to do with the risk of what kind of catastrophic failure you're gonna have. You got no equipment. You got no pumps. I understand all that. And I understand everybody uses standard, 1 year. And I saw on 1 year, no, I'm talking about 1 year worth of revenue, 12 months. And I saw what there's like over 200 muds in Harris County. A lot of these muds are standalone muds and they got maybe 1 or 2 wells. And they got a bunch of equipment, pumps, and if they lose a well, they are in big trouble. You've got no equipment. And not only that, we don't have any major, size pipelines. The river authority. And on the other side of that, we're at the oldest mud. And things collapse, things wear out, in 50 years. I'm not gonna argue. This is, in my opinion, these are for catastrophic, this reserve. And we don't have anything catastrophic there. The big lines are owned by the group, the big pipes. And so, if we end up and have a water line, first, and it's not very deep, stuff that are service lines. So anyway,
Well, the bottom line really is that because of the legal restriction, this is the best you can do without jacking the provincial.
absolutely.
I mean, so this is, I mean, it is what it is.
That's exactly right.
Well, I mean, scenario 2 looks good.
No, I'm not arguing, but I'm saying is that I'm happy with pretty much with the river authority. They've got all this equipment in to verify this. And I asked the question, you know what their reserve is? 2 months. That's what their reserve. That's it. Well, that's, my goodness, man.
No. Or in the emergency.
But we also, we have operating reserves, but it's based on your spend. Go ahead. We have the R&R operating reserve, and then we have an emergency reserve, and we're increasing all of the reserves across all our operating divisions, that we have. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but because we have these other reserve funds, the operating reserve doesn't increase as large.
Why don't we shift into the tax rate?
Hey, good evening. Starting on page 20, you should have a memo, followed by two tables. The tax rate setting process is a two-step process. All you're doing today is authorizing the publication of your total tax rate. Next month, you'll hold a public hearing, and then you'll adopt and levy a tax rate, and then break those pennies out between maintenance operations and debt service. And so you always want to publish the highest rate you'll consider this month. You can always come down from it next month. You just can't go up without republishing. All that being said, if you look at assumption number 1, your 2024 net taxable value that's as of January 1 came in at $738,673,985, which is an 8.15% increase over last year's roughly $683 million. You can see our other assumptions listed below that: 98% tax collections, no growth beyond that certified value. Your debt service fund balance as of June 30. Interest earnings of 2% on surplus funds. Currently, right now, you're getting about 5.3-ish% in the pooled funds. However, within the last 2 years, you've been getting next to nothing. So it's just kind of an average. So if you flip past the first page, this is your debt service cash flow. And since some of you are seeing this for the first time, I'll run through the columns really quick so you know what everything means. That first column, year ending. The first column is in arrears, so you're collecting taxes in arrears. So the first line says 2024, but that's from your levy last year, your 23 levy, because you collect in taxes in 24. The next column, your beginning fund balance. That first line, 6/30/2024, you had $78,923. The next column would be the interest earnings at 2% on that fund balance. Next two.
Sorry, Mr. Cohen, where are you reading which column?
That third column, the $397, that would be the 2% interest on.
Okay.
And then the next two columns are blank. And in the event that you make a transfer or something like that, the next column, prior year AV, that first line, 682,979,000. That's your 23 certified value, and then the 738 million is your 24 value below that. Next column is just your AV growth year over year. Next column is your tax rate, your debt service tax rate in order to cover your outstanding principal and interest. And currently you need about 1.15 cents. Next column would be your tax collections at 98% collections on that value times your tax rate. Next column would be your total funds available, so your taxes collected plus your fund balance. The next two columns are identical: current debt service and total debt service, because you're not proposing any new bonds. But that is your outstanding principal and interest for the life of all of your outstanding debt. So you'll be paying off your debt in 2042 unless you pay it off sooner. Your second to right column is your ending fund balance year over year. That is everything you've collected plus your fund balance, less your principal and interest paid every year. And then all the way to your right, your debt service coverage. The TCEQ requires you maintain a minimum of 25% of your following year's debt service, so you are good there. And if you flip to the next page, some informative information for you at the top box with respect to your maintenance and operating side of your tax rate. Your 2023 M&O rate, 3.2306 cents, which generated about $216,000. Your proposed 24 rate of 3.1451 cents, which would be $227,000. Parity rate, if you wanted to raise the same number of dollars you did last year, you would need 2.99 cents. And then currently, since you're technically showing you don't need any current M&O rate to balance your budget, and I think that's because of the capital projects transfer. And so the value of a penny in your district is currently $72,390. Middle box, some important tax information. Last year's average homestead value, $348,206, meaning the average tax bill would be $155 in your district. This year's average homestead went up to $373,859, meaning based on the proposed tax rate, the average tax bill would be $161 or a $6 increase. And then the percent change year over year is 3.5%. And that was what Brian and Eric were alluding to with respect to Senate Bill 2, which was passed in 2019. Since you are designated as a developed district, you can't increase your overall average tax bill more than 3.5%, or you're subject to a mandatory rollback election. And so the proposal is at the 3.5%. And then all the way at the bottom, in the bottom box, you can see your proposed total rate of 4.2951 cents. Parity rate is 4.15 cents. And then you can see the total rate to avoid the rollback election is at 4.2951 cents. And then if you went to an election, if you surpassed the 3.5%, and the election was successful in rolling back your M&O rate, you would roll it back from 3.1451 cents down to 3.1100 cents. I pause there for any questions. It's a lot of numbers.
He didn't even take a breath.
Amazing. And I will point out the average homesteads in the middle box, that is lower than what you probably see on your market value, because this accounts for the 20% homestead exemption of all the taxes.
But it also doesn't account for the 65 plus.
This is not
That's correct. So they won't receive. a
correct.
bill
This is just
65
based
will
on
not
an average
receive.
homestead. Right.
Right.
Maybe
Personal problem with going out with 6 significant people. And the last figure is, on average, house is like 22 cents. But my question is, can we go to, round this off, and go to 4.043?
Because of the rollback.
Well, let's go.
It goes your over.
4.29.
Yeah.
I mean, every bit you go down is gonna take money out of our pocket. Yeah, I don't know what the material impact is. It may not be material.
What does he want to do?
Go to
Block off the
4.29.
Bible.
72,000 change.
No.
So you're going out a fraction of a bit.
42900.
So it'd be
We could go.
Wait.
3.14 cents for M&O and
Well, 429 keeps it at 3.5. 0.0429.
Yep.
Even. I'm showing $5.43, 3.5. Take that.
Yeah, we're doing.
Oh. For M and O, just 0314, we're down to 3.3, or is that,
That's what it is.
yeah, so it didn't
So
change
what-
much at all.
Yeah, what's the overall cash? 5
Net,
That's that.
oh, 557, 169,
Oh,
so it's very, very small.
$400.
So why don't we go to?
Our taxes are so incredibly low. When I talk to people who are east of us,
So
they have like $7,000 water tax bills. And I don't even tell them mine is under $100. I will make them follow it.
Great for a mature district.
Yes.
Upper sixties to low seventies.
Yeah.
Our district.
Oh, yeah, we're really
And
low.
Woodlands is living in a different universe.
Correct.
Well, our set valuations.
No.
That's the value.
Anyway, this is the best you can do with the 3.5%. You can shave off a little bit, cut a 0.0429.
Okay. And then because the bond debt service is 1.5.
Right.
So that way we round them off. Talking about, I calculated, I paid like $300, yeah. I think that's $300 we spent in the my household.
No,
No, overall, the entire. That was what we.
The whole budget.
That's right. Going for that extra 0.4451 times 738. Geez, guess it was why. No, I just.
Prior to SB two, nobody no districts ever was in the play out this kind of stuff. It's just after SB two, when people are trying to grab as much as they can of that.
that 3.5, the target's 3.5 and whether falls out, that's why it goes so crazy. And it doesn't make
They said it, township numbers for district or for. They're 17, 14, so I'm just.
Well, that's because of the SB
Number that
two.
I can remember.
Yeah.
So why don't we go to? Anybody would agree with that? We're going to 429. No, I do not agree.
Well, the action that needs to be taken tonight is to vote on what number to publish.
I'd say
And-
the maximum number.
Yeah.
Publish the max count.
So you can, yeah,
We can reduce it at the next.
So we go out to the 6 decimal places.
6 decibels.
I say even better.
Let's go with zeros.
I make a motion that we accept the total rate that avoids the rollback election of 0.042951.
Publish that in the clock.
Published.
I'll second it.
in the Chronicle.
I'm sorry, not Chronicle. So, it's a subcommittee.
It's all about the.
Those people won't care.
Costs a lot more.
That's fine.
How about extra zeros?
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, I'll second it. All those in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm 10, regular estimate. Yes, your honor, wouldn't speaking report.
Evening, our report starts on page 53. There's been no changes to what's been published except for on page. I even have to go to page 42. This is the land acquisition monthly report,
Oh,
and
history.
I've got some changes to tell you about.
They can make that on their own.
Okay, pages don't line up. I noticed that previously. Is this where you are?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, with the map?
Yes. So in the middle of the page, that little chart, where it says phase 1 ESA, instead of 25%, that should be 50%. Meets and bounds, the next column to the right, 75%. Final number, percent complete, down at the lower right-hand corner is 8.98%.
Labor percent complete.
Sir?
Where it says labor percent complete,
Yes,
it should be what?
8.98%.
I don't even see labor,
It's lower right-hand corner.
okay. And it should be what?
8.98.
8.98.
50% right there.
And we're updating this monthly, so you'll see a new one, next time we meet. And then I think there have been several people who have asked about aquifer levels in our wells. So 44 through 46 or 7 shows you what those aquifer levels are. I would say don't concentrate on that bunch of different colored lines. focus on the trend. The aquifer levels came up a little bit between 2015 and 2020, and then started trending down again, both in the Evangeline aquifer and the upper Jasper aquifer. Those are two different charts. I think you all remember from the various orientations, we've got 38 water wells. Of the 50% groundwater that is contributed here in the Woodlands, 15% of it's from the Evangeline aquifer, and 85% comes from the upper Jasper, and the rest of it is surface water.
All kinds of blues in here. This major line that's way up there with the white circles and then plunges.
Yeah.
And then runs along and plunges again. What is that?
That is your groundwater demand.
So the groundwater demand is going down, but a lot.
Well, it went down in 2015 because we converted to surface water.
Right.
And that was 65% surface water, 35% groundwater at the time. And as you see, and I'm looking at page 45.
Yeah.
On the Evangeline, it steadily creeped up going into about 2020. And then because in 2023, we started reducing the amount of Evangeline water we're using and pushed it more into the Jasper. So if you'll look at page 47, you'll still see the amount declining, but we are still using more Jasper water.
Those demand lines look exactly the same for both.
They're pretty close, yes, ma'am.
Uh-huh.
So overall demand's dropped a lot this year.
It's trending downward, yes, sir.
And those variations, up downs are winter, summer per year.
Yeah.
So I think it's March, October, March, November.
March
November.
and then September.
But you're doing the right thing and looking at the trend, not this.
Not this
area. And
Yeah.
all of that.
Yeah.
What's the last sampling rate?
It would, March. It would have been March because we don't have September yet.
Mhm.
So we don't, because we had such a wet summer, it's gonna be not a lot of demand.
Well, it's picking up
Oh, yeah,
right now.
Currently, but yeah.
but I mean, those 3 months.
And then if you go back to, the first page of our report, page 23, down at the very bottom, that center column where it says blend percent,
I noticed that.
we're at 48, 52% throughout the Woodland. And then you can see the volume on the left column, surface water versus groundwater.
But that doesn't, Ed, I don't mean to interrupt.
That's
I
right.
was trying to get a handle. That doesn't reflect all the rains we've had since March.
If you look at 23, year 23 volumes versus year 24, yes, ma'am, it does. Just remember, 22 was a dry summer, 23 was a dry summer.
Still doing the surface water tour next Tuesday.
Yes, sir. In fact, I was going to mention, I think we have 25, maybe 28 signed up with them. So we look forward to having you all out. And and we'll show you all around. We'll start at the raw water intake structure and take you all the way to the high service pump station and ground storage tank. And everything in between.
I'm assuming someone will tell us where to go.
But she tells me where to go all the time.
And you get some of the workers and the engineers that also show you around.
Shelley did resend that invitation that has the address.
Yeah.
You're not going to the GNA building at Dan Site Road. You're going to Pine Valley. Is it Pine Valley?
Pine Valley.
It's up off of
Longmire.
Longmire. So just don't go to the dam on off of 105. You gotta go up and around to get to the GRP building. Unless they were gonna let us drive across the dam, which,
Mhm.
We have to use a four-wheeler.
No,
no.
we have a paved road.
Oh,
It's restricted traffic.
I think that is-
Just make sure that's where you go, but that address is on there. invite.
Any questions? That's all I got.
Okay. Item 11, discuss and act on Rutgers explore endorsement and hiring of an engineering consulting firm. Evaluate the water treatment plant one with a specific purpose and make the recommendations and processes to get an existing plant to extend its life to 25 years. Pull that agenda item, have a vote. That's trustees meeting. And I've seen trustees, essentially, the proposal was to just have a hire, and not hire, but have a ad hoc committee that we would evaluate consulting engineers and come back with a cost estimate. Or expenditures, cost estimate for their services through this project. It was voted down, 36, 39, 7, 46 voted for it. And the remaining 6 voted against it. And so anyway, so it's dead forever. You don't bring that up again. I never said I could say forever. There's no one.
I know, I'm trying to learn from that one.
So anyway, hopefully the river authority, the very first thing they will do is evaluate that over before they go come back to this with, analysis of that very thing that they're consulting. $1.5 million. I think we've always got 5, right? But anyway, so anyway, I'm gonna pull that agenda item. There's no reason for us to vote on it. Right. Even though we make following monetary expenditure. No, item 12.
Nothing additional.
Steve Jones, claims report. 13, Stephen Act on the general manager's report.
All right, we're gonna kick it to John for communications. I will update you on a couple things real quick while he's coming up. The mowing is gonna begin in 36 here this week. And so, it started, on the 19th. They were up in Harper's Landing and they usually move down here next. And so they're moving in, this week and we should see that, starting. And yes.
So they talk about 1 or 2.
Takes a few days, but they'll be knocking that out there soon.
Evening. We got the separate report there for August. I want to note that we are exiting the third quarter of our strategic plan. It's through the end of the month. The main focus for this quarter has been water conservation. We're going to transition into putting focus on value of water. Water in their lives. We'll continue to message on other fronts, including water conservation for you as well. You have an outreach calendar there. We're starting to fill that in. Got a half dozen or so events there lined up already for the fall. We'll add a few more, I'm sure. You can find this calendar on Google Drive. We always invite you to come join us. So time talking residents at an outreach booth. Couple examples of current marketing material to follow on page 1 and 2. Social media, brought forward a few statistics on 3 platforms we're engaged in at the moment. We are looking to add a couple more here in the near future. We're exploring LinkedIn and Instagram's additional platforms. I'll keep you updated on that. We are now a proud sponsor of Woodlands Online high school sports. So Woodlands Online is they telecast live sport events for the high school, for Woodlands High College Park, right? Main sports, football, baseball, basketball, volleyball, so on. And so they get about 100,000 viewers a year for those sports. So we will be prominently advertising on those live streams. We'll have commercials and readers, and then we'll have advertising presence on the rest of the site and their social media as well. One reason I'm really excited about that is It's a nice, broad swath of demographics. Involved in that in high school sports. Those folks are engaged in the community. So,
And have a lot of water users in the home. They're big teenagers.
yeah, with all those teenagers taking long showers, that's right, exactly. Yeah. And, you know, it's a great way to show that we are a strong supporter. Last news, watch some sports this fall. And then Eric is gonna, make a note about our infrastructure communication.
I've been here and that is water smart. I'm on it every day. Because my wife is talking about our $400 water bill. Okay, which goes right to us, all right? But it is excellent. It's all water smart. If you sign up. And take it. I know you guys are great.
Yeah, we're up to 70, almost 70.
I haven't checked the plate number right there.
Yeah.
I think 70 any day now.
We stays
I use like 3,000 gallons of water.
a month. You spent the other day where you think, oh. John, I got a question.
Probably less than me.
The township has, my understanding, they have a full-time water conservation.
Correct.
And you coordinate your efforts with their efforts.
We do, very much so.
So the fact that you're advertising on what's online, are they advertising on what's online?
Don't believe they are. They do a lot of workshops. They work on a number of fronts, but
Okay. No, it's water tap, running water fast, a lot of people, I think. Yeah, maybe able to confirm this, but I think you got doing water conservation efforts. It's got to be dedicated. Anyway, a lot of things. Sending out press releases once they're done, to turn off my water when I brush my teeth, which seems to be the routine of it. Anyway,
I do that.
but the point is hopefully you guys are coordinating with the township because they have all those.
it makes sense. So,
Yeah.
So I was gonna update you on the PEC and public outreach. As you know, we're working with, SDRA and a PR forum, that's helping with, getting up and running the infrastructure renewal campaign to educate the community on aging infrastructure and what may come down the pipe, in the future. They've drafted a website, which would be a landing spot for the community to go to learn about what the MUDs are doing on the infrastructure things, whether it's, working on your sanitary sewer or other lines or whatever the things you're doing. The various MUDs are doing. And so they'll be here next month to run us through that website for the public, or the website. And then also they are developing, as part of the campaign, a community working group. And so they've developed some criteria around who would be a part of that working group. And in the working group, what they would do is they would get together. I don't know if it's going to be necessarily monthly, but it could be upwards of monthly, and then probably would go on for a year or so during the campaign, where they would get together to collaborate on, what are they hearing in the community? What messaging do we think is lacking, and things like that. And that would kind of help guide what the messaging is. The group formation criteria they came up with was one member from each MUD. There'll be individuals from the village associations, other community members, Howard Hughes Township, SDRA, Williams Water would be a part of that group. And so what I'm asking y'all tonight is just to think about a member of the board that would be interested in joining that community working group to help that endeavor. Don't need to decide tonight, but if anyone has any interest in that, I'll be asking for a name next month.
I'd like to do that.
Thank you.
Well, there you go. That's fine. And that's all I have.
Okay, I wanted to mention, you brought up the mowing and, you know, partly because of wet weather, mowing situation. First mowing was the first day. I'd like to add $5,000, because this thing is gonna have us third of the mowing next year. Increase the mowing earlier in the year, because with the first of September, we're mowing on twice. We're just been out there, you know, out there. We care too much with that waste out of use. So anyways, redo the budget, speaking of 5,000. Where we get, I'll shoot from the $5,000, but I'll have to do that. I second that. Anyway,
Is it too late for us to look at the, to add that, if that's a reasonable?
No, we can redo it and
Yeah.
show you what the effect is next month.
okay.
Yes, I'm done. Thank you.
Okay, see the women's water trustees report, and I don't have, lots of, I just wanted to ask one thing. On hiring, evaluate, salt, but I'd like to, I'm reading maybe 2 minutes. He didn't, those, didn't say how it was voted, 6 to 4 against. Would you please include in the minutes, how each voted? In the minutes, that way we don't have to.
That's reasonable.
I don't remember if we had, we were multiple, but
Yeah.
we did, okay, so we can. It was voice vote, but we have.
Anyway, if you include it in there, you don't have to include maintenance, you just include it in there. How the vote voted. That's on the next topic. Thank you. Anyway, it's here. Trustees report.
And we already had closed session.
Slow sessions. Reconvene. Next month's agenda.
Just want to mention one thing, this is the 50th year of the founding of the Woodlands and George's Coffee Fund, which you know what that is.
I was.
You were there? I didn't see you. Anyway, Hughes Corporation put on a really clean thing about it. And if anybody wants to be a part of it, of any of the festivities, it's really going to start in October. So October. Let me know. It's going to be a big, it sounds to me like it's going to be quite fun.
Yeah, the final event will be a concert with 3 performers, a drone show, fireworks show. Yeah, it'll be October. Is that what it is?
Well, this is what it's on.
I don't remember what the date is, but it's, yeah, right out.
Dark Park.
It's all free.
Make shake.
But they're going to celebrate for 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Yeah, they have a number of events planned. They presented.
If anybody, any of my direct. Sure you don't want.
What? I missed that, I'm sorry.
I've got to be there.
My son's on.
I didn't get that.
I was, yeah, drunk.
He's living in it.
Are we adjourned?
We are,